Coming up next on the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by Toyota and Bet365, King Tuck awakens as the Cubs pull off a sweep in California. Plus, Cade Horton rising to the top. We'll tell you why it appears the Cubs have now developed an ace. And where does Kyle Hendricks stand in your list of greatest Cubs? All that coming up next on CHGO Cubs. Hey, Chicago, what do you say? This is the CHGO Cubs podcast driven by Toyota. Let's go places and Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. Use code CHGO365 at sign up. Happy off day Monday. Feels a little bit better after a sweep. Luke Stuckmeyer, Joey Christopoulos, Jordan Bernfield in the house as well, and Sarah running the ones and twos. We will get you ready for the series against the Giants. We're going to talk about these new Cade Horton odds. We're going to talk about Kyle Tucker, who I may have saved his career with some cookies, you know. Oh, no, that was for Owen Caissie. I don't get credit for this. Sorry. My bad. And we'll talk about Kyle Hendricks a little bit as well. And whatever else you want to in the live YouTube chat. Welcome to everybody in the live YouTube chat here at the all-new CHGO Cubs YouTube channel. Want to tell you real quick before we start going just about something exciting that also helps Cubs fans but is football oriented, because football season is almost here, but so is also maybe Cubs playoffs. We have a Diehard deal right now, and now we also have tiers to it. We've launched some new merch today, new Bears merch on the CHGO website. Now we got tiers to it. Limited time offer, $59 to join just for the regular Diehard deal. That's normally $70. Right now it's $59. But here's the tailgate tier that we've added. You can, a current Diehard can just upgrade their fandom for a prorated price, and that would get them also 2 free tailgate passes to one of our tailgates, one for you and one for a friend to bring along. Now, those are a great deal anyways, because it's all the food and all the drink you can handle, and it's just a party before a Bears game, even if you're not going to a game. But if you want to start from the beginning and make that your tailgate deal, right now that's $89, and that is a special offer right now. Would still come with your free shirt, would still come with the Discord, would still come with all of Adam John's articles, and yada, yada, yada. All the great benefits to events and all the other tailgates that continue on throughout the rest of the season. So that's the current deal. Make sure you check it out, allchgo.com. All right, let's get to the baseball. And I see our guy Gary Ross is taking a moment to step away from his Bears fandom just to talk a little bit of baseball. And we appreciate you coming back, Gary. Kyle Tucker. King Tuck has awakened, Joey. He has awakened after we all said he needs another. Why is he only getting 2 days and 3 games off? How could they do this? And then he goes ahead and he plays the Angels and he goes 5 for 12 with 3 home runs and 7 RBI in the series. Is King Tuck back and alive, and will he be that guy again?
It's a Monday, Luke, after the Cubs sweep the Angels. I'm feeling good. I'm going with Kyle Tucker is officially back, ladies and gentlemen. We can argue about the formula, about the ingredients. Did it happen too late? How long did they sit him? They didn't sit him enough, back and forth. But the good news is Kyle Tucker not only, went deep on Friday, but Kyle Tucker went deep twice on Saturday, hit a double. He's hitting the ball in the air, picked up another RBI yesterday. So my favorite part about Kyle Tucker being back, Jordan, isn't just the fact that it's 1 home run, but now he's replicating the swing. When he's trying to barrel up the baseball, he's still putting himself into good counts. And when he does, he's making other teams pay, and he did it multiple times this weekend.
I love your optimism, Joey, and I hope you're right. And I'm not saying that he isn't.
Yeah.
I just want to see more. I know the nuance is dead in 2025, but I'd like to see a little bit more. One of the reasons being The Angels have one of the worst pitching staffs in baseball, particularly since the All-Star
Leave Kyle
break.
Hendricks alone.
Look.
We'll talk about him later.
Kyle Hendricks. This is not me ever taking shots. Kyle Hendricks could give up 10 runs a game, and I'd still defend this guy the rest of his career. I'm just saying that I think that it was a good landing spot for Kyle Tucker if he was going to break out to do so against a team that isn't a very good pitching staff in the Los Angeles Angels. And I'd like to think that he's back. The funny thing about it is, for the last 5 weeks, we've been talking about how rough it's been for Tucker and how PCAs look lost up there and how Sayers look so bad. When Kyle Tucker hits, all of a sudden the Cubs look like a great team again, right?
Yes.
It's pretty simple. Okay.
Reverberation.
When you have a player who is great, who isn't playing well, and then comes back to being great, it makes up for a lot of the other things that you might be concerned about. This weekend, the Cubs looked like the team that has the third best record in the National League.
Yeah, they've won 8 of their last 10. Best record in the National League, I believe, over those 10 games. They've started to chip away at the Brewers. We'll get to that in a second. I'm still where I stand on that. But Tucker makes a huge difference. That's why we've said from the beginning he impacts the whole lineup. That's why even if you've been unhappy with the way he played the last month and a half, now we know there was a fracture in the hand, mishandled, whatever. That's why if he's healthy, you make him an offer in the offseason that hopefully keeps him here. It doesn't mean you don't like Caissie. It doesn't mean whatever. You can find room for all these guys. You really can. And yes. I still think they can right now. Like that, it's one reason why I don't understand why Caissie's just like pinch hitting one at bat. Like
yeah.
in the series, like I think he can move it around. I think he could play left field. I think he could be the DH with Seiya struggling. I think you could play him in right and let Tucker just have to worry about hitting. Right? All of those things. So yeah. I still think there's more playing time for him. I just know what a difference in the way he carried himself, right? Like, didn't it feel like he just looked like, not the results, didn't he look like a guy that was having more fun?
Did you ever hit a ball?
Like
you ever hit a ball
like,
three?
Here I am. I'm slumped over like this doing a show, but then all of a sudden I pop up because I had a great ad read,
It's
right?
the beauty of hitting the ball 430 feet in the air. I've never done it before personally, but I can imagine it probably feels pretty good. No, you're right. The burden was lifted, and you can kind of see, especially in Saturday's performance specifically, the Reese McGuire Grand Slam was huge. But maybe there is a little bit of a sigh of relief going on in the locker room. And Jordan, I think you're having a very healthy skepticism right now about Kyle Tucker, because I'm in agreement with you that this Cubs offense and the way that they've struggled the last 6 weeks, I don't think that's necessarily solved, right? I want to see more of that.
I hope it is.
Yeah, I want to see a little bit more for the next 7 to 10 days. But with Kyle Tucker and this offense moving forward, we've been running some numbers on it. When you're starting to look at it, this schedule for the Chicago Cubs is a great opportunity for them to get right and playing their best baseball at hopefully the right time. They do not play a team over 500 until September 18th. There's only 7 games left this season against opponents over 500, and it's the Cincinnati Reds in 4th place outside looking into the wild card, and the New York Mets 3rd place, obviously barely hanging on right now. So Giants coming up this week. 2 good pitching matchups starters-wise, and then they get Webb. They get Webb on Thursday, I believe, and then they play the Rockies. So opportunity awaits, Jordan, right, for them to truly get back and us to really start revving the engine a little bit.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and look, when I was last with you guys a few weeks ago, we were talking about how the Cubs at the trade deadline underwhelmed, and that was the narrative, right?
Sure.
So a few weeks later, all of us that are pining for Owen Caissie, had the Cubs made the trade for Mackenzie Gore, Owen Caissie would be in the outfield for the Washington Nationals right now. Now, I'm not suggesting that the Cubs wouldn't be in better position for 2025, but I do think that sometimes we are prisoners in the moment here. The Cubs are operating as a franchise over the last few years, not as one that wants to spend at the top of market, right? They just don't seem to be willing to do that. The biggest contract that they've put out on the current team is Dansby Swanson, right? So if we know that the Cubs are not likely to spend, Ohtani, Juan Soto, Vlad Jr. kind of money, then we can't also want them to trade away their top prospects. You're going to be one or the other. Yeah. You can't probably be both. The Cubs are not going to be both. I would love for them to be both, but they're not going to be. So Kyle Tucker's performance over the last few weeks where he has struggled, and the emergence of Caissie and seeing that there might be another option next year, I think has sort of prepared fans for the possible future. But I think it also means moving forward that two things. One, if the Cubs are really going to make 2025 a special year, Kyle Tucker has to perform like the guy that Tom Ricketts is going to have to pay a big contract to.
Correct.
Credit to me for saying that too.
And two, if he were to leave, it shows you how much Owen Caissie and some of these other guys on the team are going to have to fulfill.
Yes.
If Tucker is
have to
gone
really
next
step
year.
And very quickly, fulfill as in if you're not going to spend $400 million on one player, I damn hope that they're going to spend $300 million on like two players, right?
Sure.
The money is still there.
Well,
Like when you trade Bellinger and all that money's going to go towards.
supplement the
Right,
roster.
right.
Don't, take it
It's
somewhere.
going to go towards increasing
right.
your prices to the 2027 All-Star game.
Motor Music Michael says, so fun on Saturday to watch the game at a local bar. Found some Cubs fans visiting my town, Steamboat Springs. Told them about CHGO and hopefully get some new viewers out of it. Cam doesn't buy my whole thing that Tucker's the key to the offense. And here's
why.
This is why, because other guys have played well. And I understand what Cam's saying.
more
in
of
that
an individual
Shaw's had a
effort.
good moment and helped carry the team. Shaw and Caissie were the key to turning it around against the Brewers, not Tucker. Totally
Fine.
with you. Like, other guys still need to be better. My point is, when he's playing well, he impacts it more than any of those other players.
Correct.
Because his level of play is above all of those. Even PCA, when PCA is at his best, Tucker is still the best all-around player that the Cubs have on their team.
And just think about it like this. My counter to Cam is you are bringing up a very true point that, individuals have to perform at their own productive
Totally true.
level. But if you think about this like anything, think about it like a job. If we all have roles on our team, if Kyle Tucker's role on the team is to hit 35 home runs, not everyone in the lineup can do that. To drive in 100 runs, not everyone in the lineup can do that. To get on base 38% of the time. So sometimes this is natural as human beings and as teammates. Jordan, if you're great at something, I'm going to hope that you're doing that thing so I can be great at my thing. And if I see you struggling a little bit, maybe I want to pick you up. And maybe I want to start doing too much. And maybe all of a sudden Seiya Suzuki starts going south a little bit. Maybe PCA gets out of his shoes when he's swinging a little bit. And it can be, and we've talked about this, Luke, a player's struggles, especially a really important player, can permeate through the lineup just the same way when he's going great can also permeate throughout a lineup.
Well, this
Yeah,
weekend,
I agree with that.
let me add to this, Joey. Look at this weekend, right? Kyle Tucker had a great weekend. When you listen to the comments that Kyle Tucker made, and they're asking him basically, are you back? And his response is sort of maybe, right? Because this is a veteran who's been through the wars and knows that as good a weekend as he had, it's hard over 3 games to really decide what you are. On the other side of it, you have PCA, who hits the big home run on Friday night, and the way he's speaking. Look, I love PCA. I mean, he's electric. How can you not love him? But he speaks like a young player, right? He's talking after the game Friday night about, well, hey, the game is so frustrating, but this may be the thing that catapults me out of it, which is great for the media.
Sure.
And Craig
It's a
Counsell
great
said as
soundbite
much,
for us,
right?
yeah.
It's great for the medium what PCA can provide. But I think that's part of it too. Kyle Tucker's role is not only to be the best player on the team, it's to be a veteran presence who can sort of keep these guys understanding the ups and downs of the game. And when you have so many young players on this team who are still learning those things, Tucker's value gets amplified, I think, even more. And I think that we saw that this weekend.
And real quick, part of that message that Craig Counsell said, and Cubs fans might not like to hear this, but process over results.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Stay consistent. Stay consistent in your process, and the results will come.
Trust the process? Oh, no, that's the 76ers. We don't want to go down that road. I got 2 questions as we
How did
get
that
ready.
work out, by the
Not
way?
well.
Yeah.
As we go to break, I want to ask 2 questions in the live YouTube chat, and we'll discuss them after the break as well. Gary says Tucker's still going to get $450 this winter. How much do you think Kyle Tucker will get if he continues to play like this, or does he have to play like this to get the big number that we're talking about? And then what Bobby Blanco is following up with is, yeah, but I don't think he likes Wrigley Field. It's an interesting conversation that we can have after the break. I think all of it is kind of tied into one thing, but it's funny that 1 week later, we even have those concerns. Because
right.
a week ago, the same chat was just firing away like, get rid of him. I had somebody say DFA because they don't understand DFA, but that's a whole nother story. Like
That's incredible.
Like,
Can we
that's
frame
how,
that?
That's how far we've gone is DFA Kyle Tucker at one point. All right, we're going to talk about that. Let us know in the live YouTube chat, and we will also talk more about where the Cubs stand right now. What does it mean? Plus, our guy, Kyle Hendricks. It's all coming up next. But first, a word from our sponsor. All right, let's be real for a second. The world has gone soft. Everybody gets a participation trophy. What's that all about? Just for showing up at school. Everybody needs to be bubble wrapped these days. Soda used to have some kick. Now it's all about pretty colors and easy fizz. But RC Cola is not just a soft drink. It's a damn good cola. It's the original cola that doesn't fold under pressure. RC's an OG cola in the world of spineless soft drinks. No trends, no gimmicks, no glow up. RC hasn't changed its stripe since 1905, Joey.
Keep it that way.
Why? Because it didn't need to. It doesn't need to. It's the same bold, crisp flavor it's always been. RC Cola tastes like a punch in the thirst. Do yourself a favor. Grab some RC at your local store. Stock up on all your end of summer parties, back to school celebration, or just watching a game. RC is the move for whatever you're doing.
And keep in mind, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. New customers right now get $200 in bonus bets when you place $5, win or lose. So sign up using code CHGO365. Deposit $10. Place a bet for $5 and get a $200 in bonus bets just before the NFL season and MLB playoffs. They got the football early payout with the Bet365 early payout offer. You're a winner if your team goes up by 17 points with an instant payout on straight bets and parlay selections marked as winners. They also have double your winnings on parlays with Bet365's 100% parlay boost. So download the app and use code CHGO365 when you sign up. Playoff season, it's right around the corner. Remember, $200 in bonus bets. Place a bet for $5, win or lose. So sign up using code CHGO365. Must be 21 plus or older if you know someone that has a gambling problem. Crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER, in-app only.
All right, we mentioned Bobby Blanco asking, saying that maybe he doesn't like right field. So he has no evidence. He just gets that feeling watching him. I will say about that part of it, as I said a week ago, first of all, the booing definitely wouldn't have helped if you really... guys, don't forget that. But if the money's the same, I don't think it matters. I do think he's afraid of both walls in right field. I think he doesn't like playing up against that brick wall on the side, and I don't think he loves the brick wall behind him either. But that wouldn't be unusual. And if someone's giving you whatever million, 400, let's just say $400 million. Somebody's giving you $400 million, you can get over the bricks.
I think so.
You can get over the bad siding.
Yeah. I think,
deal.
Look, I don't think that he has always looked incredibly comfortable at Wrigley Field. I also think that when you look at some of the metrics, and they've talked about this in recent broadcasts, Wrigley Field from a hitter's perspective has not been a great ballpark to hit in this year, at least in the second half of the year.
We're blaming the wind again?
Well, no, I mean,
I know what you're saying.
I think that's always like
they
annoying,
also haven't hit well. I don't know if it has anything to do with the ballpark.
Right. So it could be, sort of one of those mental things that some of the players, as they've struggled in the second half. I think with Kyle Tucker, I know that we're going to sit here and we're going to throw out numbers for a contract. One of the things that has caused me pause as much as anything, beyond just the performance being bad over the last 6-7 weeks, I can't believe I'm saying this because I've never been this guy, but I have been sort of surprised in a bad way by just the body language and sort of the way it has. Look, if he's hurt, then I understand in a certain way, but he just kind of doesn't look like he's fully hustling after the ball in the outfield. And obviously at the plate, there was the one he was getting booed because he didn't run out of the box. I mean, it's just certain things. It's like, look, when you're the best player and you're supposed to be the best player, and he's also, by all accounts, like a really good guy, and he's not a kid, right? I mean, he's 27, 28 years old. It's just kind of, I've watched this and I've thought, this is for a player who is obviously thinking every day about the fact that he is soon to be a free agent and could set the market and all these things. Look, we're all human. I just think you might think about it more. Just the optics haven't looked good. Yeah, but
losing in struggles make us go looking for that stuff, right? Because
if he were performing, we wouldn't be talking about it. But
we mentioned last week, nobody cares that PCA slams his helmet. I'm starting to a little bit.
I don't
but-
like that either. To be completely
Well, we're
candid,
old.
I don't like that either. Yeah. Well, maybe I'm old, but I also think it's just like. But I understand it more from Pete. He's 23.
Yes, correct.
Right? Like
Yes.
he's learning how to play in the major leagues. And Kyle Tucker, you would think, and has been through. He's won World Series. Like this guy's been there. I just feel like we shouldn't be seeing this kind of stuff.
No, I'm with you, and I think I'm wondering with reflection, maybe in an offseason or after he signs this huge deal, he will reflect and look back and say this was maybe one of the more, if not the most difficult stretches of his professional career these last 6 weeks, because I agree with you in the sense that what was the MO with Kyle Tucker heading into this year was that he was a metronome, even keel, the poker player that you never know what his hand was, right?
Yeah.
And I felt like over the last week or so, we saw some beads of sweat at the poker table with Kyle Tucker a little bit.
Yeah.
And then he starts slamming his helmet down and we're like, oh no, this could be really bad.
Yeah.
So I'm glad to see him turn it around. I think it's important for anyone, and especially with young players and especially even with veterans like Kyle Tucker, to continue to work through it. Once you do work through it, it's God, that relief that you feel when you finally start connecting with the baseball and you can hopefully turn that into consistency moving forward. I did want to add something to the Wrigley really quick. And I was thinking, Luke, we should start doing something like we get a lot of consistent people in the chat. And I think I'm going to name Bobby Blanco my chat person of the week, or like a gold star.
Chat
We
of the
name
week,
someone
yeah.
of the week, someone that's consistent, someone that like, brings something to the table that is always,
Yeah.
well thought out. I mean, Cam's having
How
a
about
great one.
sicko of the week? Because I like to call the
Yeah,
chat sicko.
maybe
sometimes.
Bobby Blanco is my
Sicko
sicko of the week. And,
Yeah.
and he's being honest with himself that he doesn't have any evidence that Kyle Tucker doesn't like Wrigley. It's just a feeling he gets watching him.
That's right.
I will just add in there that please keep in mind that, in my opinion, Kyle Tucker is, we all know, playing in the National League for the first time. I feel like that 15 feet from the wall and the warning track, I think he's been not great this year, reading it in any ballpark. And I think it's a lot of that has to do with playing in dimensions for the first time. Maybe a tiny little bit too. Don't slam yourself into the wall and get hurt. But I feel like him playing balls at the wall this year hasn't been great. I would like to chalk that up to him being in a National League for the first time. Now, the labyrinth that is the right field corner and all of its peccadillos and chaos and corners and bumps, I mean, maybe that's something that he'll just learn to conquer and own it if he was to stay in Wrigley. But I'm not quite buying that he doesn't like playing in Wrigley. I do see him sometimes. The newness of the National League, I think, shows up a little bit in games.
We know it's like really tough. It's a really hard right field.
Brutal,
But
yes.
now that we have all the facts, and we know that the guy had a fractured shin last year, and he's trying to get to this contract, and he's been through the struggle of like, oh man, look what happened to his shin. And now we know he had a fractured hand. So I would expect a guy with a fractured hand to maybe go a little more gingerly towards those walls, not wanting it to be a fully fractured hand, and then he's totally done. So while none of those things have been confirmed by the Cubs, now that we know these injuries, it makes a little bit of sense. All right, Cubs are 5 games back of the Brewers. Brewers do play today with, 31 games to play? I still say the division is lost. Because that's a really short time. Now, Joey just mentioned they don't play a lot of great teams down the stretch, but if you're not hitting, that won't matter, as we have evidence of the last month or so. Is the division, are they starting to reel you back in on the division a little bit? 5 to go? Have they at least thrown the lure within your mouth?
I think
to
that the
edge of
lure
your
has been
mouth?
thrown.
Are you looking at that lure and thinking about biting it?
Look,
is that?
I have the sickness, okay?
Yeah, right.
What am I doing here?
Right.
Okay,
you know
so of
it's
course.
it's a worm on a
Cubby
hook.
math, baby.
Yes,
Let's do it.
I'm
You know
not-
there's a hook under the worm, but you're still thinking about biting on that, nibbling
I'm
on
not
that
going to
worm.
sit here and act like I'm better than anybody else. I have the sickness. This is why you invited me here, okay? I understand. I looked at the standings this morning. I was like, well, last week I thought they were out, but they're 5 out now, and they got 31 games this time. Look,
Man, where's the spray?
a week ago, I would have said no chance, and I'm still thinking it's obviously pretty unlikely
Okay.
given the way that the Brewers have played. But the one thing that you have to say about baseball, and I don't think this is just true of the Cubs and the Brewers, I think this is just true in baseball. I mean, we see this happen a lot, right? Where you think like going into September, a certain race is going a certain way, and you can erase a deficit in a week if a team gets hot.
Yep.
The Brewers did that to the Cubs, right? The Brewers won 14 in a row or whatever it was. The Cubs went, 6-8 during that stretch. And look at how many games they went up in the division. So it can be done. Now, is it likely? Of course not. But I do think the one thing that has made me feel like it is doable is that as good as the Brewers are, they were obviously on a ridiculous stretch, right?
Yeah, we all think that was too hot.
If they keep winning like this, then they deserve the division. But they're not likely to play this level of ball the rest of the way.
They only need to play like 500 baseball, though. Yeah. Most likely.
Right. The Cubs have to outplay them significantly. But if the Brewers play 500 ball the rest of the way or something close to it, then the Cubs do theoretically have a chance to win the division.
Yeah,
so you're saying there's a chance.
Well, I said this last week that personally I'm turning it more into like a semantic argument in my opinion, because ask yourself this, Cubs fans, would you rather have the Chicago Cubs win 95 games this year and get the wild card, or would you rather have them win 91 games and win the division? Personally, I just want this team to start playing at its optimal level and some of the baseball that we saw the first 2 months of the year. If that happens, I think division, wild card, it all takes care of itself. And I care about what happens in October. So I just want them playing at their best when it counts. And I'm hoping that it's turning that corner. And as I've said, I think the Milwaukee Brewers are hopefully cresting a little bit. And yeah, they have a great schedule coming up, but like they play the Braves, I think 6 times. Like the Braves still have a lot of really, really talented players on that team. So they do have to take care of some business. And look, everyone's saying in the chat, the division is possible. It 100% is. And a lot of things can turn around very quickly. I'm just more focused on getting this team, the offense specifically right. And I think the wins will all take care of itself.
I think that's true. I believe it's gone, but I ask you this because most of us are Bears fans too. And I know that Gary's out there. Which do you think is more likely right now today? 31 games to go, 5 out. I saw Evil Wax said, if the Brewers lose today, then it's in place. So we're within a half game of it being in play. Now, is it more likely that the Bears win their division this year or that the Cubs win the division down 5 with 31 games to go?
Oh, my God. I feel like we're going to get into so much trouble no matter how you answer this.
What do you think, Scary? Well, like, which one?
I would say
look
Cubs
into your
too.
Joey Cristobal. That's a new segment we'll be doing soon.
Branded.
There we go.
Cristobal, yeah.
Branded.
I'm looking into my Joey Cristobal.
You know what?
I
have more evidence about maybe this is a cop out, but I have more evidence about this Cubs team right now. And what they're capable of. A player that we're going to be talking about pretty soon, a certain Cade Horton, another player that we just talked about, Kyle Tucker, possibly being back. 5 games back in the division in baseball. Jordan, you made a great point. Can turn around very quickly. I would buy in on the Cubs to win the division more than the Bears winning the division.
Even with their super coach, both teams are believed to have hired a super coach. Take him over the top.
It's going to be a really
Cubs.
tough division, really
Cubs.
tough schedule
Gary's
for the Bears.
Cubs.
Yeah,
Gary's going Cubs.
I would definitely take the Cubs. Look, I understand the Bears hired the next Ditka, all this stuff. I think we all have to see to believe, at least for me. The Bears have conditioned me over the years. Every year at this time of year, everyone's thinking that the Bears are going to be so great. I mean, we go get the tape from last year's shows and the year before's shows in late August. The Bears, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. And it all goes to what right after that. Yeah. So look, there's no reason to think that the Bears can't be really good this year, but I don't think they're winning the division. So I would rather put my eggs in the Cubs basket for that reason.
I wonder what Vegas would put the odds at for both of those, right? Like, they both seem very unlikely. Like the Bears have to climb over everybody in the division.
Yeah.
I bet they're both
at
like
have a new coach with a new offense for the second-year quarterback.
There's a lot to look. The Bears could be. If the Bears went 500, I feel like that's a big step forward.
Just to spite you guys, just to prove that I say this division is over, I'm going to say the Bears winning the division this year is more likely than the Cubs coming back from down 5.
Wow.
Bears.
That's
what I say.
Bears. I'd say it's probably plus 750, I would guess, for the Bears to win the division.
Yeah.
And maybe somewhere close around there for the Cubs right now. I mean, The odds are in the 90s to make the playoffs.
Joe, isn't it amazing how one weekend really changes everything? Right now, we're talking legitimately
giving Tucker $500 million in the Bears and the Cubs winning the division.
Sure. Whereas on Thursday, after the Cubs lost that 5th game against the Brewers or whatever Wednesday, we were all feeling pretty bad.
Well, and just really quick, vibes, momentum. Long baseball season, that stuff can matter in short little spurts, and sometimes that short little spurt can create a domino effect that can create a whole season or a great month of baseball. So I'm kind of on board with this quick turnaround because I liked what I've seen from certain players that have gotten them back in that position.
All right, speaking of odds, we're going to get to odds in the next segment. First, I want to ask you that same question in the live YouTube chat. Answer it for us, and now a word from our sponsor.
Hey, Cubs fans, at Toyota's national sales event, we got a long lineup of vehicles for summer fun. The 4Runners, its off-road Tundra. It hauls it all with its twin-turbo engine, and Tacoma takes adventure straight to the top. You want to ride with sizzling hot style and efficiency? The all-hybrid Camry is revving and ready to ride. So visit your local Chicagoland Toyota dealer or Toyota.com today. Toyota, let's go places. And Luke, September baseball right around the corner. Mm-hmm. Bears season on our doorstep.
Hello.
So become a CHGO diehard and upgrade your fandom today. We have tiers to it now. Base tier limited time offer is only a $59 entry fee. It's normally $70. Then we have the new tailgate tier deal going. I'm going to be there every single Sunday. $89 limited time. You get 2 free tailgate tickets with you and one of your pals to the Bears tailgate, the CHGO Bears tailgates all this season. You get a free t-shirt. You get all the benefits so current diehards can upgrade your tailgate tier at a prorated price. Go to allchgo.com for the latest information. It's a great deal.
Get it done. I've been paying property taxes in Cook County for the last 20 years. Trust me, I have the battle scars to prove that. Overpaying for property taxes is something way too many Cook County residents are doing. You don't have to be one of them. In Cook County, the appeal windows will vary by township, close up rapidly, and are difficult to win. So let Ownwell's experts ensure you're prepared. Sign up in under 3 minutes. In Cook County, Ownwell has a 25% contingent fee, meaning you only pay if your property taxes are reduced. And 86% of Ownwell's customers receive a reduction. Ownwell handles everything. No upfront costs, savings, or free guarantee. Only pay if you save. Save money on your Cook County property taxes with Ownwell. Sign up in less than 3 minutes. Ownwell.com/cook. That's OWNWELL.com/cook. Save yourself some money. All right, Cubs coming off a sweep. 5 games back of the Brewers as we do this podcast live on Monday's off day.
And they're winning the division. We established that.
Yeah, no. Some of us have, some of us have not. We are going to get to Cade Horton and his great run that he's had, definitely since the All-Star break for sure, and probably back even further than that. And what it means, Gary's already asking, do you want to give up a year? We'll explain that as well. But I do want to ask, because we saw Kyle Hendricks and we talked about him at the beginning of the podcast, I think it was my guy Patrick Mooney was asking about where do you put Kyle Hendricks on the Mount Rushmore of Cubs pitchers? And then the question is, what does it mean to be on the Mount Rushmore of Cubs pitchers? That's the first question you have to answer. And then does Kyle Hendricks fit into one of those 4 faces? I think we're probably all going to be on the same page when we say this. Number 1, Fergie Jenkins, Hall of Famer.
Yes.
He's one of the 4 faces, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So Fergie's one of the 4 faces. Greg Maddux is the greatest pitcher to ever throw for the Cubs. Do we agree with that?
I don't even think that's a question.
Even he won a Cy Young. So for me, even though he spent his best years, most of his best years on the Braves, won the Cy Young with the Cubs, I think Fergie and Maddux are 2 of the faces without any argument from anybody.
None from me. I mean, Greg Maddux is in the argument of greatest pitchers of all time, and he spent a lot of his career with the Cubs. Now, one of the 4 Cy Youngs came with the Cubs, like you mentioned, but he got his 300th win with the Cubs. Obviously, when he came back to the Cubs in 2004, he was on the back half of the career, but was still a very
effective,
very good pitcher. I mean, the best years were obviously in the 90s with the Braves, but I don't know how a guy who pitched enough years in the league and enough years for the Cubs, who is that accomplished, could not be on the Mount Rushmore of the Cubs.
Well, you're sort of describing Kyle Hendricks like he was the most tenured Cub, 11 seasons with the Cubs. I mean, I found myself in the beginning of the game rooting for Hendricks to put up zeros and then the Cubs just to win it after he got out of the game. That's how I was watching the game on Sunday.
Yes.
And by the way, this goes back to last year when I sat there with Gary and others at some of these takeovers and I said, the Cubs are using him wrong. Pitch him 4 innings and get him out of the game. And you know what? The Angels made the same mistake yesterday. If they would have pitched him 4 innings, just 4, they'd have been just fine.
Well, let me say this, though. If we're talking about Mount Rushmore, because then you start to get into like, well, how does he get onto the Mount Rushmore?
Okay.
Because if I'm looking at Kyle Hendricks' resume to get on the Mount Rushmore of the Cubs pitching staff, okay, he pitched the game that won them the pennant, which is one of the most important wins in the history of the franchise. He also started Game 7 of the World Series. And was good in that game and shouldn't have been pulled. And we're not going to relitigate the game, which is every 2 months, I think we're all contractually required to relitigate Game 7, but we won't do that today. The point is, he, in his Cubs career, was not only great for most of the tenure, but has some of the most iconic starts in the history of the franchise. So you do start to think about it. Luke asked me this question when I got in the elevator a couple of hours ago, and I was like, at first blush, I didn't think so. But as you start to think about it, it's like, well,
okay,
he has an argument.
So, Joey, the question is this: how do you put him above Sutcliffe, or how do you put him above Arrieta, who did it for a short period of time? It was, had a stretch that was the greatest in baseball history. How do you put him ahead of Lester?
Do you leave room for Felix Heredia?
Does he kick some of those guys out and make that list?
So first off is...
I'm not going to go back to other guys that I've never seen pitch.
No, yeah. I mean, the first rule, right, is when you make a Mount Rushmore, you have the humility to respect that there's only 4 on there.
That's right.
We're not building a 5th one on there.
He's either on or he's off.
There's only 4. So the way that I would attack this, honestly, is... they're just because they're presidents or just because they're pitchers doesn't mean that they're all the same. They can be a collection of many different reasons that makes the history of the Chicago Cubs interesting. Now, Fergie Jenkins, I think at the very least, not watching him, counting stats, right? At the very least.
Hall of Famer.
Okay,
he's in.
Perfect.
Maddox is also Hall of Famer. In.
So Maddox is on my Mount Rushmore too, because I think the story of Greg Maddox is as instructive of being a Cubs fan as it is anything, that we had one of the greatest of all time. We wouldn't sign him. We let him go. He went off and had this incredible Hall of Fame career, only to full circle come all the way back. Like, that is a Cubs story if I've ever heard one before. And he's, in my lifetime, the greatest Cubs pitcher I've ever seen pitch in uniform. My third one is definitely Kyle Hendricks because of what you mentioned. He has the counting stats. He has the consistency. He was a great steward. He wore the C proudly. Many years of consistency. But yeah, when you look at that resume, what are some of the most important Cubs moments of my lifetime? The ones you just mentioned. Like, everyone was like, Joey, did you cry when they won the World Series? I cried after they won the pennant because that was the one I thought I was never going to see. And he was fantastic in that game.
Can I ask you, though, Joey?
Yeah, please.
Just on this Kyle Hendricks argument, would you argue that Kyle Hendricks was ever the best pitcher on the pitching staff when he was on the team?
Well, he had the lowest ERA in 2016.
He did, but wouldn't you have argued during that season that John Lester or Jake Arrieta was the better pitcher? I love Kyle Hendricks. He's one of my favorite Cubs of all time. I'm just saying that when we start to break it down further, was he ever the best pitcher in the pitching staff? And I think a lot of people would probably say, and this is not to knock Kyle Hendricks, but objectively, probably not, right?
Well, and I'm sorry, and really quick, I think in 2016, did Lester win the Cy Young in 16 or no? If he was, he came in second and Kyle Hendricks came in third in Cy Young. They were right next to each other. So that was, you're right though, in that respect.
I saw somebody in the chat mention what I was saying too earlier. Casey says Hall of Fame first, so Lee Smith. I'm not going to go reliever, but if you just want to go by Hall of Fame status, then Lee Smith gets into your...
Right, you could say Bruce Suter's in the Hall of Fame. Bruce Suter
could also go in there. So I'm going to leave the relievers off just because that's the way I want to do it.
Three Fingers Mordecai Brown, are we going way back?
I'm not going,
Benson.
And I'm not going back that far.
Yeah.
But somebody meant, like Kyle also falls in the Zambrano, like better than Zambrano, but also around the team for a long time. Where do you put Mark Pryor? Where do you put Bobby Blanco says?
Kerry Wood.
Kerry Wood's on his Mount Rushmore
Where's that
because
Harding
it's
when
the
we need
greatest. A lot of people say the greatest game ever pitched.
Yeah,
Regular season. So is that enough?
watched-
Is that enough to get you? And his long tenure, is that enough to get you on the Mount Rushmore?
I would say no. Kerry Wood to me is a no. Look, having watched his whole career as you guys did, Kerry Wood had some iconic moments, but like in the biggest games, it's not like he was a money pitcher. It's not like he was on the mound for Game 7 in the NLCS.
He's better at the plate than on the mound in that game.
And had a better game at the plate than he did on the mound. I'm just saying that Kerry Wood had some great moments in Cubs history, but to me, when I look back at his career, I look at it more as it was potential unfulfilled by injury and circumstance and things like that than it would be like great Cubs player.
Which is why I'm putting John Lester.
Right,
He's my fourth.
Give me your 4.
Yeah,
Your 4.
so my 4 is Fergie, Maddox. I'm putting Hendricks on there because of those moments. And then when we talk about a player who signed the most lucrative free agent contract in Chicago Cubs history as a pitcher, who's a guy who is as consistent as they come, I'm going with big game Johnny Lester
instead of Arrieta.
Yes, I am.
He would have been the one you were choosing
so
against.
we're splitting hairs, right? But Arrieta's season was so incredible in 2015. And in 2016, John Lester won 18 games. He came in relief in that 7th inning. He was that bulldog. And honestly, I'm trying to, it's almost like building a fantasy team with your Mount Rushmore. It's like I have 4 different kinds of pitchers now out there. And as much as I love Kerry Wood and Jake Arrieta's heights were probably higher, I'm going with the ultra above average elite consistency of John Lester.
All right, Jordan, go ahead. Spit out your 4.
And I think that the
Enough hemming and hawing. Give us your 4.
Give us the truth.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously we have Fergie and Maddox on there.
Yeah.
I think we agree on those 2. I think listening to your argument, Joey, I think the symbolism of John Lester too, he was like the player that turned everything around, right? When they signed him in December of 14, you're like, the Cubs are a serious franchise for the first time in our lives. They're trying to actually win. And this player of this magnitude is willing to bet on the Cubs.
Delivered.
And he delivered.
Yes.
And was great for most of his tenure as a Cub. So from the symbolic nature of it, I initially thought John Lester. So I think I'm putting him in because he was great in big moments. He pitched iconic games for the Cubs in his history, and for the most part was great as a Cub. Won the World Series.
So who are you leaving out?
I think the 4th. I might have to go with one of the Hall of Famers because I'm hard-pressed to put Arrieta in there because Arrieta was amazing in 15 and really good in 16, but that's kind of it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there wasn't just enough of a tenure. So maybe you put in Suter because he's in the Hall of Fame and was obviously very good on the Cubs. I'm leaning in that direction. And somebody asked Gary, you want to know where Travis Wood is? He's right behind Rick Aguilera.
I was gonna say we should do a Mount Flushmore of 4 guys that you wished weren't on the Cubs. Look, the 4 worst Cubs of your lifetime.
Yeah, I mean, look, there are symbolic players you could put in there, but I think I would probably take Suter just because, again, great career in the Hall of Fame, pitched well as a Cub.
His most famous moment though is giving up home runs against the Cubs.
So, all right, so maybe you go Sut. Maybe you say Sut because Sut.
I don't think so.
80, you guys answer this for me. Whose heater was better, Sutcliffe or Arrieta's? Just curious. Because I didn't watch it. Who had a better heater?
Sut's a little before my time.
Arrieta was the most dominating pitcher I've seen for like a season and a half. For me, the answer is either the 3 you're choosing from, Arrieta, Lester, Hendricks.
Yeah.
Only 2 can make it. So I will go with what Joey did, and I'll leave Arrieta off because it was a shorter time span. No question, Kyle Hendricks is in the greatest pitchers. Not throwers, pitchers in Cubs history. He's in there with Maddox, like, knows what to do as a pitcher. He obviously didn't have the stuff that some of these other guys have. I could go Lester, leave Hendricks off, and leave a space for Cade Horton.
Transition, baby.
That's what we call transition.
To your point on that, though, real quickly, it's sort of like how I think a lot of people, if you did a position players one, would take Rizzo because Rizzo was the face of the franchise in their biggest moments. Was Rizzo the best player? I don't know, but That the point is, like, Lester sort of fulfills that from the pitching side of it, whereas Hendricks may not quite as much, even though Hendricks was great for the Cubs.
And
Right.
Bobby Blanco says Mount Rushmore's not the 4 best. It's impactful, fan favorite, architect. Right. That's why. That's
Fair
why I
enough.
think
Sicko of the
Hendricks is
week.
in it.
That's why you're the sicko
That's
of the week,
why
Bobby
you're the
Blanco.
sicko of the
Love it, Bobby.
week.
Yeah. But no, as you mentioned, Rizzo, 4 or 5 straight years of 30 home runs, 100 RBIs. But KB won the MVP. Javi Baez finished second in the MVP. I mean, we always had Ben Zobrist was incredibly important in 2016, but there was Rizzo right in the middle of it, consistently elite, just like John Lester was. And I just can't believe, just as a Cubs fan, John Lester to me just blows my mind because we talk. How many years have we done the Milton Bradleys and the Kosuke Fukudomes and all these different free agent contracts, and they never live up to the billing? Like, I think Dansby's done a pretty decent job of living up to his money, but it hasn't been as consistent dollar for dollar, bang for buck like John Lester gave us. And that's really hard to do in sports.
Can I say real quickly, though, did you see that recently, that Dansby has a higher WAR in the last few years of the 4 major shortstops that all got signed in, 2021 in the offseason before 22? Dansby has the highest WAR when you compare it to Xander Bogaerts and
Trey Turner and Carlos Correa.
And Carlos Correa. Highest WAR, Dansby Swanson. Somewhere Jed is sitting there going, value.
But
Right?
he's still not on a Mount Rushmore.
Yeah. No, not on the Mount Rushmore.
I may go 3, and I will. You have to chisel the first 3, so you have some time to wait and see what happens with Cade Horton, who, by the way, is now the favorite, according to some betting websites, for National League Rookie of the Year. Now, my preseason prediction before we did a show was that it was going to be the ultimate Cubby occurrence. It was going to be Matt Shaw and Cam Smith in the American League. That's what I was hoping it was going to be. But now it is Cade Horton, who's plus 160. They have Isaac Collins, Drake Baldwin, Matt Shaw, 4th up on that list, okay? How incredible is it with what he's done? And we just talked about Arrieta, and I've seen the comparison on Marquee talking about after the All-Star break, 7 starts in 2015, which was Arrieta's, through the moon. By the way, we didn't mention Arrieta, 2 no-hitters.
LA and Cincinnati.
Actually, Cade Horton's 7 starts after are even better than the ones that, not as many innings, but his ERA lower, equivalent or better than what Arrieta did in 2015 over that short period of time.
In Cade Horton's last 7 starts, he has allowed 2 earned runs in 37 innings.
Yeah,
In
pretty solid.
his last 15 games, he has allowed 23 earned runs in 79 and a third for a 2.61 ERA. I mean, he's been pretty outstanding. And look, we were just talking about it the last break. This team obviously needs either Tucker to return or a star to solidify what they are and to allow them to reach their full potential. But if you look objectively at what's happened this season, there have been a lot of positive developments, okay? Recently, yes, Matt Shaw has now looked like the kind of player that the Cubs thought that he would be, where in the first half of the year he looked completely overwhelmed. The second half, he looks obviously way better. PCA, if I told you before the season, would have a shot at 30-30, you would have laughed at me. I mean, I don't think any of us seriously would have thought that was going to happen. And now it's very obviously likely to be the case that he's going to go 30-30. He's 2 more home runs. Cade Horton emerging as a legitimate Rookie of the Year candidate is another development where you're like, if before the year I would have said this guy was going to be putting up numbers like this, you would have said Cubs are going to be a great team. I mean, they're 21 over. I know that we've all felt like we've gotten punched in the face over the last 4 weeks because the Brewers haven't lost a game and the Cubs went from up in the division to 9 games back to now, as we established 15 minutes ago, maybe they're going to win the division again because they're only 5 back. But in all seriousness, there's been a lot of good stuff this season, and this is one of the best developments.
All right, I know Gary is dying to talk about this part of it because it is part of it, but we can't control it. So if Horton were to finish first or second, or if Shaw were to finish first or second, then they would move up their free agency because they would get, even though they haven't played a full year, they would get a full year of service time. That's a Major League Baseball rule. So basically you would say they would be they would reach free agency starting in 2030, not 2031. So are you willing to give up a year of service time to have him finish 1 or 2? I'm not I'm not in control, so it's not a one or the other. But if he finishes as Rookie of the Year, am I willing to give up that service time? The answer is yes, because it would mean if he continues to pitch this way that the Cubs are going to be in real contention. And we've been having the conversation for the last 2 weeks about the Cubs that if they get to the postseason, who's your number 3 starter? And Cade Horton just keeps making these starts one after another. Now he's going to pitch at Coors Field. We'll see how that goes, right? So, but like, it would signal that this team is on the path because you would have this 23-year-old kid that's going to be an ace, and you're going to be able to add him to Steele when he gets healthy, and Shota, and Boyd, and like, you're going to have that, and hopefully Jackson Wiggins. But like, so yes, hypothetically, I'm willing to give that up. A second place finish? I don't know. You know, I'm not. As I said in my RC Cola read, I'm not that all in there. Say if he's going to finish second, then he might as well finish fourth. But I prefer he pitches great and wins Rookie of the Year. I just can't believe he's at that point right now where in one, he was like third on the list, and then he made one more great start, and they're like, this is unbelievable. This kid's a real. And these places in Vegas, they're never wrong, by the way. We're like, odds-on favorite now, Cade Horton.
Yeah, I mean, here's what I will say is that, first of all, what Cade Horton is doing right now is absolutely fantastic. But keep in mind, there are other players like Drake Baldwin specifically. His WAR is 2.1. Cade Horton's WAR is only 1 right now. A lot of people do care about that when you talk about major accolades in sports. Isaac Collins, 27 years old, 2.6 WAR. 124 OPS plus. The shame about Matt Shaw, right, is in the second half. He's slashing 298, 343 on base, 691 slug, 175 OPS plus, 16 extra base hits in 29 starts. Extrapolate that over a year, and I think we're talking about this Matt Shaw anyways. As a Cubs fan, though, I am 100% rooting for Cade Horton to win the Rookie of the Year, even if it costs 1 year of service time. I'm always going to side with the players. That is collectively bargained. So if you go and you earn it, and you create that version of achievement for yourself, you deserve the right to get to your money a little bit closer. And see, if you're the Cubs, why would you be upset about that, Jordan? If all you wanted on the planet was Cade Horton to be good, be a top of the end of the rotation starter, and he is already maybe getting to that point at 23 years old, you have plenty of time to figure this out.
And Jordan, don't forget that Jed Hoyer's already looking ahead to 2031. The Cubs are already thinking about 2031.
Future wins.
Carter's looking at 2032. We know that.
So now if he wins Rookie of the Year, all you have to do is move that up 1 year. They just start thinking about 2030 instead of 2031.
Man, poor Carter Hawkins. If I'm him, I'm never speaking again because, like, I get what he was trying to say.
I do too, but it went on the bulletin board.
Yeah,
I know.
that got totally blown out of proportion.
Someone was like, "Hey, Carter, good luck with that speech today," and he was like, "I'm going to nail it."
Yeah,
and then
right, exactly. Look, Theo used to say this all the time. Every season is sacred. And it sounds obvious, but I think sometimes we forget. The fact is, if you're playing for maximizing service time, then you don't care about the season at hand. I like that is not even, it doesn't matter if, you guys said it, if Cade Horton wins the Rookie of the Year, that means the Cubs are well on their way to a legitimate postseason run. I'd also say this too, like I don't think he's going to win, even if he pitches well the rest of the year, unless the Cubs were to overtake the Brewers or something unforeseen happens, right? Because, like, even though Isaac Collins is a 28-year-old rookie and kind of feels like shoehorning him in, if the Brewers end up winning this division by 7 or 8 games, the narrative's going to build for these players on the Brewers to win awards, right? Because that's what happens. In 2016, when the Cubs won the World Series, even before that, they won 103 games. They were the odds-on favorite. They won all the awards. That's what happens. When you win all the awards. So I think part of it is going to be team success. And so even if Horton pitches great the rest of the way, he's likely not going to win the Rookie of the Year unless the Cubs, are on such a high at the end of the year from the standing standpoint that, it's like, oh, the Cubs, look what they did. Yeah. Give everyone these awards.
What a rush at the end. And it was all because Horton pitched this way.
Right. Yes.
Interesting. So what we need is the Bears to win the division, the Cubs to win the division, and Cade Horton to win Rookie of the Year. By the way, PCA now, according to ESPN, they went with their MVP. They went Ohtani, Schwarber, Machado. PCA still fourth at 150 to 1. The Cy Young, they still have Matthew Boyd behind Skeens and Sanchez at 40 to 1. Cam Smith, by the way, third in the American League at 35 to 1.
Look, Paul Skeens should win. The Cy Young should be over the National League. Well, Paul
Unless Cade Horton gets really hot down this stretch.
Well, I guess
if the Cubs win 20 in a row and Horton wins 4 times in that
Skeens
stretch.
doing it on the garbage team.
The hypothetical is right. Like no one cares about wins anymore. But if you are Matthew Boyd, the only thing to make it close, he's at 12 wins right now. If you're telling me he gets to 15, 16, and Paul Skeens lands at, I don't know off the top, but he was sitting at 6 for.
Look, I don't want to be ageist or anything, but I think that older generations of fans would be more willing to look at wins than the younger. I feel like the younger generations.
I'm trying to think of like how do I get into this argument a little bit for Matthew Boyd, but I'm with you. It's like it's Paul Skeens or bust.
Skeens' first 50 starts in the big leagues are like among the best first 50 starts in the history of the sport. If you look at all of the numbers that he's amassed, other than wins and losses.
Save it for the Pirates podcast.
He's winning.
They don't have one, I don't think.
Stick around for Bucko's Ball coming up right next after CHGO.
They can't afford
Break
one.
down
They had to
another
trade it
loss.
away.
20 under. Here we come.
Tell a friend, tell a pirate, tell a stranger.
All right, we only have 4 minutes left, but I just want to say this about Cade Horton. What he has done since the All-Star break, even that we're comparing him to Arrieta 2015, tells you that it's special, right? And I just know that I've gone from saying, maybe he's a middle of the rotation guy. I don't know. He doesn't have enough pitches. It looks good, but I don't know if it's ace material. And I was thinking, look at the Brewers. They got this Miz. They keep calling guys up. When is our guy ever going to show up? Ladies and gentlemen, our guy has shown up. His name is Cade Horton. He has shown up. And I have no problem with watching that kid pitch in the postseason next year and beyond. And I hope Jackson Wiggins is going to do the same thing. And I also hope that Cade Horton now will be the one player that has this trajectory that is straight up the mountain, right?
Well,
we've seen the other guys, PCA and Shaw, have ups and downs, all the players. How about if Horton is the one guy that slowly kind of crept at the beginning and all of a sudden his stock just went through the roof? And by the way, if anybody was asking for him and Shaw, I'm glad the Cubs told him to go fly a kite.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, so look, we were saying it before. I think that there's two divergent narratives that are going on at the same time about the Cubs in like the internet world, right? One is, why don't they spend the most money? And two is, why don't they keep their prospects, right? So like, it's hard to do both. And so given that the Cubs have shown the evidence that they don't want to spend the most money, having these guys come through, look, when you build this way, it's just harder. That's why it's not appealing as much to fans and why it is more difficult to get behind, because it's not that it can't be done. We see this in baseball every year. You can win building from within and maximizing value, but it's hard. That being said, I'm not advocating that they do that 100%, but the Cubs are showing now, after a few years, that they are starting to get some of this result in a positive way. And Horton's one of those guys, and PCA's one of those guys, and Shaw's one of those guys, and Horner's one of those guys. And you start to look up and down this roster, and yes, they still need to sign a star. And yes, they still need to spend money on the team. And I'm not suggesting that they're going to be the Rays or that it's going to be easy to do. But we're seeing that this is working out with the development of these players.
Yeah, my quick one on Horton really quick is on an off day like a Monday, you're really like, man, can you imagine if Justin Steele was in this rotation right now? Holy moly.
Yeah.
What we really would be talking about and the kind of high hopes that we have. When you just talk about Arrieta really quick, what I love about what Cade Horton's doing over this fantastic stretch that he's been having is that it looks so natural coming out of his hand, and he is just attacking hitters. Yeah. He is not trying to fool you or doing it with the real guile or anything. He's saying, this is my best stuff. I'm getting after it, and we've hammered it on the show before. In his last start, first pitch strikes, 19 of 22. That's Jake Arrieta-esque of I'm just going to pound the zone with my stuff, and let's see if you can hit it. That's what Cade Horton's doing right now. He's 23 years old. And I know that he's going to be on a pitch count, but at this rate right now, he is turning into a major difference maker, hopefully down the stretch for the Cubs.
In the last 2 minutes, you guys have made the hair on my arm stand up with excitement and maybe start to think, is the division really lost? Are you guys reeling me in a little bit? I'm not sure, but I love what I see with Cade Horton and the future of the Cubs. Big games coming up against the Giants. We will have post-game shows for you, even though they will be live at probably 12:30 in the morning.
Late night.
We will be here. We hope you will, too. Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs podcast presented by Toyota and Bet365. Thanks to Jordan for coming in. Jordan, Joey, Sarah, and I was here, but, whatever. Thanks for checking out the podcast. We'll be here for post-game tomorrow. Shout out to everybody in the live YouTube chat. And make sure you get on that Diehard deal.
Oh, it's too good to pass
Ooh,
up. And you can bring a friend,
tier.
impress your friend with the
tailgate tier. That's all I can say.
We're going to party. It's going to be fun.
We'll be here.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching the show. Happy Monday. And don't forget, fly the W.
We all silly like the mayor.